Alright guys, welcome back to Monkey Business Parkour. Here we are on another Tutorial Tips Tuesday. Today we're going to be looking at the hip cast and the pop cast. And if you don't know what those are, I'm going to cut.
We're stuck where we are, with no house, no car. Castaways, ahoy, we are castaways.
Now, what makes castaways and castaway variations different from other backflip tricks is that instead of the power and the flip coming from your knees coming up, it actually comes from this motion of your knees snapping down like this. This creates the flip, and then based on the variation, that's how you get height. What makes castaways and its variations a little different than other backflip variations is that instead of the flip and the power coming from your knees coming up, it actually comes from your legs snapping down like this. All the flips come from this snap right here and then tucking afterwards. So if you see really, really good people at castaways, you'll notice how you see this pike and then the tuck. As opposed to like a palm flip, for example, where almost all the power just comes from that normal backflip technique. So castaways can be really different and strange at first. So depending on the castaway variation you were doing, there's going to be different prerequisites. For all of them, you're going to want to have a normal palm flip, which is this right here. And then for hang cast specifically, you're going to want to have this low palm flip where you actually grab here and you go up and you push like that into your palm flip. But for pop cast and hip cast, you don't really need that. One really important prerequisite though for hip cast, which will help you get height a lot, is practicing doing just cast up. So what you're going to do is you're going to get on top of the wall like this. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna cast your hips on top, like that. If you can do it and keep straight legs when you get on top, that'll give you a really good cast for your actual cast back flip, because it's the same idea.
Yes.
Yeah. And then for all cast variations, one prerequisite that'll help a lot if you have access to a trampoline is a Cody. Cody is this right here. Now, like, Codys are really important. I actually learned castaways before Codys, so either order helps, but Codys are a lot lower risk because it's on a trampoline as opposed to hard ground. Speaking of which, you should learn this trick in a gym. Don't just send this trick outside, just first try. Please learn this trick in a gym first. But for Codys, the reason they're important is because the way you actually flip for a Cody is the same snapping motion here, and you actually push very similar to a pop cast or a hip cast or even a hang cast. So it'll just really help you get that fundamental snap down. Again, not necessary. I learned Codys afterwards because Codys didn't make sense to me, but they might make more sense to you. So pop cast and hip cast are fundamentally the exact same trick. The only difference is how you get into them. So for pop cast, if a wall's high like this, you usually want to like put your foot on. If it's lower, you can just jump into this position. But you want to get into this position right here with your chest above the wall, like that, ready to snap your knees down. You probably get a little higher than that. This wall's higher than I thought. And then for hip cast, it's the exact same idea, except you're going to start on the wall and you're going to cast your hips up. So you're going to go here, you're going to cast your hips up. And if you notice, after I cast my hips up, it's the exact same thing. The only difference is how you're getting into this position right here. Now, if you're anything like me, castaways are going to be super, super, super scary for you. They were super, super, super scary for me. Now, different people are scared of different ones. For me, pop casts were a lot less scary. Even though I'm better at hip casts, just something about being that close to the wall always freaked me out. So whatever is better for you. I've heard some people say, like for example, Cody Beltramo, who is a Chicago OG, said that he way prefers hip cast over pop cast. So everyone's different. Just do what works for you. I'm gonna get into the tech now. All right, what you want to do is you want to find a nice high wall like this, especially when you're starting out. Once you get really good at them, you can start getting them lower and lower. I think my lowest is a little below my waist, right about here. So not the lowest in the game, but I'm pretty happy with where they are right now. So when they're high like this, your tech doesn't need to be perfect, obviously, because you're high like this. So I'll just demonstrate a hip cast really quick. So you're going to get up on the wall. 3, 2, 1. So you'll notice that tech wasn't great, but because I'm so high, it doesn't really matter, and I can kind of get away with cheating it that way. Now, hip cast, when you actually start taking this lower, instead of just trying to like push your hips away and then snap right away, once it's lower, you actually need to get height because you won't have the natural height of the wall. So how you do that is you push away, but you want to get your chest over it. So when you push, you're actually pushing your butt up. The best way to think about it is your butt has a rope on it and it's being pulled that direction right there.
It has a tail. We're monkeys.
Tail. My bad. There's a tail on your butt pulling you that way. So you gotta push it up that way and then snap. It doesn't matter if you're that close to the wall. If you look at the clip, I actually clipped there. but I was completely fine. I actually didn't even know this until the cameraman pointed it out. So just remember, you can be kind of close to the wall. Just make sure that you're not like right on top of it, so close that you're like really hitting both legs. So push away a little bit and then snap and make sure that butt goes up.
You got this. That was it. So clean.
All right, next up is popcast. Now, fundamentally, this is the exact same move where your feet snap here from this position. Now, a lot of issues people get is from this exact problem where they go up in the popcast and they're here. If you notice, right in this position, my butt cannot go up. There's no way to get my butt up from this position because my chest is here and I'm kind of doing a glorified palm flip / wall cast sort of thing. Here's not what you want to do, it's way hard. What you want to do is get your body up on top of it, which is kind of hard with a higher wall like this. So make sure you give the pop a little more power than you think you need to, so you can get up to this position. Now, when I snap, I can actually focus on my butt going up and being pulled by that tail and not a rope.
There you go.
Now, just like the hip cast, because it's higher, my tech does not need to be perfect, but when you start taking it lower, getting your butt above the object and just pushing it up is really important. That's how you start getting them lower, and then you become Dominic Hughes and you do them on flat ground. Now, Dakota's attempt was good because he sent it, and if he didn't bail, which is obviously good. Honestly, with popcast and hipcast, it's such a small thing that can make it go kind of wrong, like you saw, but he bailed safely, practice UKEMI. But the small thing he did wrong was when he was here, he didn't get quite enough on the wall, so he pushed his butt away instead of up. Honestly, if he got a little bit higher on the wall, and he thought about his butt going up, even though it's scary, like getting your butt up there, then he would have landed that, probably would have stomped the crap out of it too. But it was just that one small tip, which is why hipcast and popcast can be so annoying because it's so many small little things you gotta work out.
But it was just the butt.
But it was just a butt.
You can do whatever you want. You're the monkey man.